serve hundreds of years of human war only for a stupid dog to be claimed as their best friend. Really not cool of our species. How many wars did dogs help us win? I mean, it was really only until just recently where we finally stopped using horses. They were literally used in World War I. To be fair, they were even used in World War II for that matter. They were just a little bit less prominent. But we've been using these animals in battle for quite literally thousands of years. It's not even like these things cared about which human side won. The horses had no horse in the race. Pardon the stupid pun. Ask the Russian tank dogs if they agree that this is a betrayal. I was waiting for someone to bring that up. That's like the most famous example I can think of dogs in war. They were more used as kamikaze soldiers, however. It's actually not fun being an anti-tank dog. Or in German, they call it dog mines. Dogs have been used for 30,000 years, meanwhile horses less than 10. Well, when it comes to hunting, definitely dogs have been man's best friend. The amount of time that dogs have served humanity is exponentially longer than that of horses. They're not great at large-scale war, but great at everything else one-on-one with a human. The origin of tea according to the Japanese versus the origin of tea according to the Chinese. How could these two stories about a nice hot beverage just differ so much here? According to the Chinese legend, tea was discovered by this emperor who was conducting scientific experiments in his garden. According to Japanese/Indian legends, when a monk was meditating for 70 years, he began to fall asleep, and in frustration, he cut off his eye. What? Japan and India. I have a whole lot of questions. I'm gonna have to deep dive into this later, but I'm kind of afraid to be honest. Ferdinand VII, King of Spain, deposed because Napoleon under house arrest. Bunch of wars in the American parts of the empire because France and mainland centralism. Napoleon defeated back to power. Various of the revolting territories offer him peace in exchange for federalism. Refuse _all.execute. Abolish the Spanish Constitution because why not? All of the revolting states move their demands from autonomy to independence. Lose all the wars, ending more than 300 years of Spanish rule in most of America. Yeah, that's quite humiliating. Was this guy really that stupid? He literally got a bunch of peace offers which weren't even unrealistic. Imagine being this level of petty. I don't think I've looked at it like this before. This man single-handedly lost one of the biggest empires human history has ever seen. I mean, it can't be all his fault, right? To me, it kind of seems like it was one of those things that was just inevitable. Maybe this dude just really was a derp. Well, it wasn't that bad. It could have only been worse if he had failed to have a male heir, decided to change the succession law just before his death, starting a century civil war. Wait, he did what? Wouldn't be surprised if he was secretly an anti-Spain agent sent to frick up Spain. There's a reason this guy is known in Spain as the worst king in Spanish history. Although to be fair, I also saw similar claims for his father. Man, these comments are crazy. He was even stupider than this makes it out to be. I actually had no idea it was that bad. How beautiful. Take home a piece of Mexico. Meanwhile, the US in 1846, don't mind if I do. They just filled their glass up, baby. Maybe Mexico shouldn't have told the Americans this. This really solidified the US as the major dominant power in North America. And don't forget, the US even thought about taking even more land. They was about to take both the Baja Peninsula and the Yucatan Peninsula, as well as all of northern Mexico. Why take a piece of Mexico home when I can just bring my home to Mexico? Polk, probably. Give Germany Jews that they demanded that they've destroyed other countries for not following, or threaten to drive out or oof every German in Finland if they ever hurt one Jew. This is the choice they went with, and that worked. Even Hitler knew not to put pressure on the Finns about this. They weren't going to be okay with that. That, as well as other reasons, is why the country of Finland had a very weird relationship with the Axis faction. That's why a lot of maps actually just have Finland as their own kind of thing, not a part of the Axis or the Allies. Also, the whole Lapland War, when Finland declared war on Germany. Crazy that they even received minor air support from the USSR, who they were literally at war with. By the way, if you want your own floating country ball above your own shoulder, you can get Finland over at makeshift.com. I honestly forget just how much people love the Nordic countries. Time's running out, but these are sounding great. Estonia isn't Nordic, and they're actually a relatively very small country, but they're doing pretty well too. Also, one more thing, I have to say, some of the collections that you guys have out there of all the country balls that we've designed are just absolutely incredible. Like I keep saying, this is better than my own collection. This is incredible. Girls, after a minor disagreement, I hate you more. Meanwhile, men during a full-scale war. Merry Christmas, friends. German noises saying it back. I mean, yeah, the men did put aside their differences for that one Christmas there, not for the others in World War I though, or the Second World War in general. The more I learn about the Christmas truce in history, the more monumental this whole thing becomes. It really feels like such a turning point in history. Like in an alternative timeline, maybe this would have been the final moment where we all stop fighting. But of course, as we know, 1914 just leads to the rest of World War I, then the inevitable World War II, then the Cold War, which follows soon after that. It's just a giant mess. Maybe this is exactly when the timeline went wrong. Clumsy women be like, oops, I broke this plate. Meanwhile, clumsy men be like, Yeah, we're a little clumsier. Well, maybe we don't have clumsy things happen as often, but when we do mess up, well, it's real bad. The event we're talking about is Chernobyl, which only continues to get scarier every time I learn about it. Take a loan, take a loan, take a loan, die before all the consequences manifest himself. That's Tito of Yugoslavia. And there's a lot of criticisms that he wasn't actually that great of a leader. There's a chance he just, in fact, got really lucky. Titonomics, absolutely unmatched. What was the end goal of Yugoslavia? Like, did they really expect that the Cold War will never end so the West and Soviets keep subsidizing it? They expected the loans to be irrelevant after the fall of capitalism. Nice bet. They risked it all, but I get it. I understand it now. Achaemenid conquest of Indus Valley, 500 BC. I invade you, die. Indian campaign of Alexander the Great. I invade you, die. The Arab conquest of this part of India. I avenge you, die. Ghaznavid campaigns in India. I invade you, die. Ghurid campaigns in India. I invade you, die. Timurid conquest of Delhi. I invade you, die. Mughal conquest of India. I invade you, die. Nader Shah's invasion of India. I invade you, die. Indian campaigns of Ahmed. I am invading you, die. British colonial expansion? I say, old chap, I am invading you, die. Man, India's just trying to be left alone. Just why were so many people coming after him? Like, really? Was this necessary? It didn't even matter if they were like almost halfway across the world in the case of the British. The Indians just faced so many foreign invaders. It's a flat, open plain with many riches and a lot of taxable people. It's a conqueror's paradise. It's literally no wonder that humans have flourished here since the beginning of civilization. And that's not even like hyperbolic. I'm serious. Talking all the way back in 7000 BC. And sadly, there's just so much to want to steal here, unfortunately, whether it's the riches or literally just the people themselves. Not to mention, India is more decentralized than the HRE. And remember that India just being one single nation is not normal. And that only happened relatively recently. Funny enough, all thanks to the British because they forced them to come together. To be fair, India is huge. This feels like saying crazy how many times Eastern Europe has been invaded. Well, yes, like everyone else. That's the price we pay for living in one of the best places on the planet. My dad works for the British Empire and can get your entire neighborhood addicted to alright, this well, to be fair, his dad did get at least one neighborhood addicted to it. Chinatown, basically. Talk about the OG cartels. History is written by the victors. Meanwhile, the Romans, the US after Vietnam, Ramses II, and the Confederate, what? This post does bring up a very good point. There are examples where history maybe wasn't necessarily written by the victors. The overall victors of the era, though, I think we could argue is written by the victors. Like, yeah, the Romans lost this, but overall, the Romans stayed winning. They had so many dubs. Same goes for the US. We lost in Vietnam, but we got a whole lot of other dubs in other places, so it kind of cancels out. History is written by whoever writes it. Sometimes the losers are too dead to write it, sometimes they're not. History is written by those who can write. Yeah, I don't know really about this post. I think it needs to dig a little deeper. People from northern latitudes are undercooked and temperamental. Agreed, responds this guy. People from southern latitudes are overcooked and slave-like. Aristotle agrees back with him, but the best and most moderate people come from the middle latitude, which is in Greece and Syria? I don't actually know about that. Yeah, they're already getting ready to start throwing hands. They had us in the first half. It made a good amount of sense until that part. What I'm hearing is another proof for Mediterranean supremacy. I sure love the most moderate region in the world. I'm best. Source, me. Wait, what is this? The Assyrian independence movement is the desire for ethnic Assyrians to live in their indigenous Assyrian homeland. Not to be confused with Syria, we're talking about Assyria. The Middle East be like, I thought you were dead. Meanwhile, Assyria, after not existing for over 2,500 years, my death was greatly exaggerated. Imagine if they came back. Oh, I want this so bad. They'd have a crazy chunk of land too. I mean, it would obviously make a whole lot of nations extremely upset, but man, why not just throw a little bit more chaos into our 2025? Where does this movement start? Like, is everyone, where is the movement? Where is it at? How can I vote for this? Wait till Nasser hears about his customers returning. Countries that come back to existence after a long time of not existing is my favorite gender. Come on, Assyria, join the club. I already have a spot for you. It'd be extremely funny to see Assyrian-Israel relations, especially as they'd have reasons to be allied against hostile neighbors. Literally just rename Iraq into something cool, and then we'll achieve peace in the Middle East. Something like Babylon? Yeah, we can also rename Iran to Persia. We can welcome back the 6th century. BC, that is. Both Switzerland and Liechtenstein Liechtenstein be like, between the years of 1939 and 1945, keep absolutely still. Its vision is based off of movement. This would have been a perfect meme, but you could have done it differently. I mean, this has been Switzerland's strategy for over 150 years now. As long as they don't move, nobody notices they exist. Shout out to Liechtenstein, the unsung neutral hero during WW2. Also, Switzerland be like, is this fighter in my airspace? Shoot it down. They truly neutralize on sight. Americans showing up to the trenches with shotguns. That's my best goofy laugh. Meanwhile, all of the Germans, that's not fair! Man, who could have guessed those shotguns were gonna do great in the trenches? Literally a German soldier just sitting there, meanwhile an unsupervised 19-year-old with a war crime stick. Yeah, they're about to have a blast. I hope, well, blast, quite literally speaking. I mean, the Germans in World War I, after all, were doing something like this, so it's kind of fair. And a big old thanks to my patrons. I stole Drew Durnil's Robux and won't return them until he plays Cartwright into Drew Durnil.
Alexander
Drew's
the Terrible.
Argentinian Grandpa.
I'm back, boys.
aPhatNarwhal.
Connor
I will
Pavlik
literally
as
revive
DOOCHBAGGINS.
Fredrik Drew doesn't realize Imperial Japan flag is the same as modern Japan flag.
NordTyrol.
The Mexican 760
ZaneyBoi.